And you are back listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. It is Monday, the 5th of December, the 8th of December, 2025. And we are streaming on Rumble, and we are streaming on X, and we are streaming on YouTube, and we are streaming at WYAB.com. So if for some reason you can't pick up the radio signal, always welcome to listen to us right there on the stream. If you want to be part of the program today, the number is 601 879 0002. The text line is open 601 879 5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. And with that, there's been a lot of things that I want to address, but I always try to lead it off. And, I know iron sharpens iron, but gentle answer turns away wrath. And that's where I have to start. And I was going to start the show by complaining about Apple updating my phone. It's completely changed all the icons, did everything else. But something that happened in this update is I ended up getting about 15 messages on my recorded device, people who have left messages that I never saw. And so I'm going back and through them. Yep. Okay, that's my sister. This one wants to sell me something. And one of them was then candidate for District 2 County Supervisor in Rankin County, Mr. Scoggins. And I never got back to him. But moreover, and more importantly, I came on here and said, I just haven't heard from him because I didn't. But he did reach out. And I need to come on here publicly and say he did. And I don't know what Apple gremlin it is. I think I got an iPhone 16 Plus, 16, I think. I don't know. I don't keep up to date with all that kind of stuff. But Mr. Scoggins, you did. And I feel really bad about it because normally, my whole thing is I want all the candidates to come on. And when that happened, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So before I even started talking about the news or any of the things that we're going to discuss on the program today, I wanted to make sure that Mr. Scoggins knew that I did get his message, albeit 3 weeks late and only because of a iPhone update. And now I'm not wondering if there's more on there that's going to download after I reboot the stupid phone again. But I did want to go ahead and say that. So, Mr. Scoggins, anytime you want to call in, I did save your number. And again, all I can say is I'm sorry that was in no way planned, shaped, or anything like that. So, weekend was absolutely, and in fact, he just texted in. He said, "I appreciated it. I was wondering what happened." Yeah, man. After the show, brother, I'll give you a call, and you've got to own it, because when you do the great stuff, that's great. But when you make a mistake, you've got to own that too. And the majority of the time you screw something up, there's no malice in it. You're not sitting there trying to screw somebody over. But I wanted to make sure that I did that. The weekend was absolutely great. As many of you know, our church is a Turning Point Church, and we had some listeners to the show. Mr. Steve and Miss Jennifer actually showed up to church, which was awesome. We had a great discussion. It was so refreshing because they shared so many of the same beliefs that we all share and I share, and it's going to be great. Texted them this morning, got to tell them about our great Mississippi Constitution, Section 3, Article 18, I believe it is. If you don't know what it is, go look it up. You will be surprised. But definitely, that was a highlight of the weekend. farm's doing good. It's a little wet out there. But the ryegrass is coming in nice. Pigs are doing good. The sheep are doing good. Pups are doing good. Granddaughter's doing good. Overall, it's just a great weekend. And, it's always nice to have a great weekend so that when you get ready to get on the radio and start focusing in on all the craziness that's happening around the world, you can go in with a fresh mind, and it's going to be a great week. This Friday, the Brandon, the city of Brandon is having their Christmas parade. We'll be out there. Come say hi. Would love to see you all out there for sure. And with that, we've got all sorts of stuff to talk about. This came in last week, and I want to address this on the text line. Andy, why do you always wear a hat? I'm cold. I don't like the cold, so I wear a hat all the time. We've got to talk about AI enhancing rural healthcare. This is coming from Jeremy Patiri, again at Magnolia Tribune. We always try to start off with the local stuff, especially if I deem it to be somewhat positive. But they are saying that they're going to start implementing AI routines into local healthcare. Is this going to be a positive thing? I don't know. The general instinct of mine is to be very skeptical about the whole thing. But there might be very general routines that we can use AI to go ahead and help uh, administer the healthcare. I always want to see a human doctor. Um, I don't mind getting second opinion if you get that from AI, but I don't want my first opinion coming from AI. I didn't even want my second opinion, maybe a third, fourth, or fifth. But they're out there. Experts, and this is what the Magnolia Tribune says, experts expect artificial intelligence to play a part in the future of healthcare in the United States. But there is a concern that a lack of transparency and biased algorithms may taint the creation of those AI models. Completely agree. As we can see, um, the Sweet Bee and I this weekend, we were comparing notes. She uses Chat GPT. I use Gronk, and we fed it the exact same questions and got entirely different answers. And so it makes you wonder, is the Chat GPT algorithm biased? Is the Grok algorithm biased? I'd say they're both biased. And it just kind of is further playing out what's happening in humanity um, further down the road. Brother Rick is already saying he called it. Healthcare advocates often contend that Mississippi faces a number of hurdles of ensuring residents have access to care, especially in rural areas where there are a number of factors that are in play. In addition, many of the state's hospitals are reportedly facing shortages in funding, staff, and facilities. Telemedicine has been proposed as a potential source to address some of these issues, and advocates say AI could play a part in ensuring people living healthier lives. I I never wanna say that technology is not gonna help, that medicine is always gonna help as it moves forward, but we've gotta be incredibly careful of how we implement this stuff. I always want doctors and humans making those kind of decisions for me and my family. I know that there's a group of people out there who are truly embracing the tech and can't wait to become cyborgs and have those chips implanted in them where they can just wave their hand over the payment plan, and all of a sudden, whoop, there it goes. That is not me, ladies and gentlemen. I want absolutely nothing to do with that. I don't. And the truth is that there's going to be people out there who think that that's going to be a good idea, and we're going to have to face that, not just as a nation, but as humanity. And I got to thank Brother Clay for having me on this last hour, because I think we see the general direction humanity's going, whether it be in our entertainment with what's going on with Netflix and Paramount, whether the Somali pirates, whether we're talking about the drug dealers and their pirates bringing all that fentanyl in. I saw the algorithm is interesting. If you go out and you look for stuff, you're going to find it. So if one of the things that happened, what was I saw another young person lose their life to fentanyl here. It was in Illinois, my home state, but um, it's another one in the same area, and I'm just like, how many more Americans do we have to lose to fentanyl before we really start getting serious about this? Clearly, the president of the United States is taking it seriously. The Secretary of War is taking it seriously. Our combatant commanders are taking it seriously, and our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and Guardians. Can't forget our Space Force. They're taking it seriously. They're at the tip of the spear. And I think it's good that people are starting to say that, you know what? The United States isn't going to be weak anymore. They're going to actually go after the drug dealers. They're not going to allow this stuff to be imported into our country. That if we can get you out in the open seas, we're going to get you. And we've already got a phone call, so let's take it.
Get you out in the open seas.
Go ahead and turn down your radio, but you're on the air.
Oh yeah, I got you. I had to turn it down, sir.
Yep.
How you doing today?
I'm
you're forgetting one. You're forgetting. You're forgetting really two people that really is helping them: the newspaper and the Democrats. They all for it. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but the news people. We had them in World War II. We lost them.
Absolutely. The news media is so biased, and the Democrats today are not the Democrats of the 1960s or 50s or 40s. The truth is, we've got to be truthful about the Democrats. The Democrats are the party of the KKK. We cannot. They formed it. They own it, and we can't forget that.
And the news people, don't forget the news people.
Oh no,
Andy, they. I don't know how you. Well, they slowly go out of business, hopefully, because they're. I don't know. I ain't gonna say too much more about that, but they something else. So
yep.
Hey,
I appreciate the phone call, and you're absolutely right on the media, my friend.
You have a good day.
You too. Take care. I really appreciate that, because sometimes I get so locked in and so focused on one part of the problem, it's easy to forget the other big part of the problem. If the media actually did its investigative job, for instance, when what's happening in Minnesota with the Somali population and the governor there, who's been directly implicated, you can go online and you can see. I mean, they were brazen. They were bold. They were taking pictures together, going to the restaurants and eating out, and just to see some of these Somali men who are talking about how great Somalia is and how horrible it is here in the United States. I'm thinking, man, just take a trip down to the local ICE office, say, hey, look, this is what's going on. I want to take my free trip back. We give you a free airline ticket. We give you $2,000 cash, help you get all settled back down in Somalia. Go have a good time in Mogadishu. You have that good time, and just bring all of your. It's great. And like I was telling Clay, that 1.1% of the Somali population who's Christian and being persecuted, hey, let's bring them on over. We'll do a 1-for-1 swap. Watch the culture improve dramatically. It'd be great. Actually, we'd have to do like a 5-for-1 swap, but you get the point. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We're going to take our first break. We will be right back.
To define for our audience what you say woke is, because as you know, there are plenty of people who say woke means being tolerant and being inclusive and being kind.
I mean, that is laughable in
Why?
itself. Well, because
Why?
the woke brigade are the least tolerant, least inclusive, and least kind people.
But that is a mass generalisation, isn't it?
No, it's not actually.
Go on.
No, my whole premise of my book is I'm a liberal. I have nothing in common with the way the woke left has behaved in the last few years. The great irony is they became the very kind of fascists that they profess to hate most. They became the scolders, the shamers, the cancellers. In some extreme cases, as with the murder of Charlie Kirk, the murderers of people for their speech. That's not liberalism. It's the antithesis of liberalism. There will be a time, probably not too distant future, when the world will look back on this period and say, let me get this absolutely straight. There was a body of opinion which couldn't be contested on pain of cancellation that you could allow biological men to compete in women's sport, for example. And people will think we'd lost our minds. And yet the idea that even liberals like me, who put our head over the parapet and said, this is obviously ridiculous, and it's not transphobic. I want trans people to have the same rights to fairness, safety, and equality that I have, as I'm sure J.K. Rowling did and others. But we were trying to defend and protect women's rights, which have been fought so hard for 100 years. And the idea that that was just not only put out there as an ideology, but if you tried to confront it or contest it, you yourself got destroyed. It's ridiculous. So this idea that any part of that, of the
Yeah, welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show, doing work even during the break. And we are going to start off with an infamous "See, I told you so." How long has the conservative right been talking about how the woke agenda is destroying women's sports? How it's actually a cancer on society? Every once in a while, the kaleidoscope lines up and everybody gets clarity and just the truth comes out. And that's what happened. Let's listen to this because, and to be fair, this individual, and you'll probably know him right by his voice, but I'll say it after the clip. He's been kind of trending a little bit of a different way. But again, it's not good enough when you are fighting for a quote unquote liberal cause that's really not liberal, it's woke. And it's completely destroying a certain point of view out there. But let's just let him talk. And there's going to be a female journalist. I'll let her get her 20 seconds of fame.
To define for our audience what you say woke is, because as you know, there are plenty of people who say woke means being tolerant and being inclusive and being kind.
I mean, that is laughable in
Why?
itself. Well, because
Why?
the woke brigade are the least tolerant, least inclusive, and least kind people.
But that is a mass generalisation, isn't it?
No, it's not actually.
Go on.
No, my whole premise of my book is I'm a liberal. I have nothing in common with the way the woke left has behaved in the last few years. The great irony is they became the very kind of fascists that they profess to hate most. They became the scolders, the shamers, the cancellers, in some extreme cases, as with the murder of Charlie Kirk, the murderers of people for their speech. That's not liberalism. It's the antithesis of liberalism. There will be a time, probably not too distant future, when the world will look back on this period and say, let me get this absolutely straight. There was a body of opinion which couldn't be contested on pain of cancellation that you could allow biological men to compete in women's sport, for example. And people will think we'd lost our minds. And yet the idea that even liberals like me, who put our head over the parapet and said, this is obviously ridiculous, and it's not transphobic. I want trans people to have the same rights to fairness, safety, and equality that I have, as I'm sure J.K. Rowling did and others. But we were trying to defend and protect women's rights, which had been fought so hard for 100 years. And the idea that that was just not only put out there as an ideology, but if you tried to confront it or contest it, you yourself got destroyed.
Yep. Piers Morgan, of all people. I now have a couple of things I agree with Piers on. This take here and the Arsenal. But the Arsenal dropped the ball this weekend, so we're not going to talk about them. It's absolutely truth. And I don't know if it'll be 5 years, 50 years, 100 years, 500 years, but they're going to look at not American society, but humanity in general. And this woke mind virus that just burned through our society using the tools such as social media and then infecting the regular media, which, according to the First Amendment, a free press is a key point to our representative republic. And we really don't have a free press right now. They're bought and paid for. And every chance they get to put in the woke agenda, the trans agenda, they do. Let's not forget Disney. I don't have that clip pulled up. I should have pulled it up. But, they put it in everywhere they can. And now we have a whole generation of kids who grew up on that stuff. And they know it's wrong, but they have not been given the tools, and they are having to learn the tools that they should have learned in like 7th, 8th grade. They're now learning it when they're 22, 23, and they're behind the power curve. I have a lot of faith in Gen Z and Gen A. The more I talk to my two Zoomers and the more I talk to their friends, they know things are screwed up. They don't like the boomers. They're kind of upset at the Gen Xers. They're upset at the millennials. Maybe Clay was onto something where it skips a generation. It could be. I'm not sure. But what I do know is that now is the time to go after this woke agenda. And it's up to the school boards and the county boards to just go in and just start ripping this stuff out by the root. And frankly, it is going to hurt because we've allowed some of these people to not only build a launch pad, but they've infested our school system. They've infested our college system. Even at colleges that we think are very conservative, the woke is there. I think about, so I was talking to my senior political advisor last week, and I was sitting there talking about how we have this whole LSU Ole Miss drama going on here. And I wanted to bring in how I used to threaten my kids that if they didn't clean the room, if they didn't get good grades, they weren't going to Oklahoma University, which is what they were. And we would play the fight song and everything. I was sending them to Death Valley. I was sending them to LSU. Les Miles was their football coach. I know I'm dating myself a little bit. But I was threatening them how I was going to send them there, and I was going to troll the whole audience. I like, that's just not the right thing to do. But he's like, Dad, the wokeness is there too. And he's right. And as quickly as this woke mind virus burned through our society, just chewing people up, chewing up institutions of higher learning, destroying families, quite frankly. Everything that it was doing, it's gonna take so much longer to remove out of society because you're gonna have people who are gonna ride or die with this wokeness. There are still people out there who think trans men belong in women's sports. They see absolutely nothing wrong with it. You know, I've got a daughter who plays volleyball. She's pretty good. I don't want her going up against a dude who could never play volleyball in men's volleyball, but he could be the superstar on a woman's team in college. And it's not even debatable. We've got video of some of these girls going playing against men, and it's quite frankly dangerous. The level of aggression isn't there. The strength isn't there. The dexterity isn't there. Andrew, are you trying to say women aren't as strong and as dexterous as men? Yes. You always might get the standard deviation, 1 out of 100,000, 1 out of a million, where that happens, and that's great. But I have yet to see a women's soccer team take on a even a high school team, a women's pro team take on a high school team and win. These are the best female soccer players in the world, and they can't take down the Wrexham retirees. They get smoked. That's what wokeness does. And if you look at the women's soccer league in America, it's nothing more than a advertising billboard for the LGBTQ plus agenda. Why would I want to take my daughter to see that? I don't. That's why we don't go. We're fighting so hard right now to claw back our culture, and it's gonna take a hot minute, but it's not impossible, and it starts with you and your family, in your household, laying down the law early. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. Do me a favor. If you're not following me on X right now, I would sure appreciate a follow. It's really simple. It's just at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. I sure would appreciate it. I've linked the Piers Morgan interview, and I've also linked the next story we're going to talk about because the liberals, the wokesters, are wringing their hands. I'll tell you what, next year's congressional race is going to be something to watch. It's going to be tough. People are saying the Republicans got it in the bag. I disagree. I disagree. And these wokesters all around the country who are complaining about what's happening in Texas and places like Indiana, I want you to go look at the picture I just put out on X. It is a picture of New England. And guess what? Illinois is envious of New England. California is envious of New England. They have completely gerrymandered Republicans out of every congressional seat in the whole entity that is considered New England. So oh man, let's see if I can remember these states: Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont. Yeah, that's just Vermont. I think that's all of them. If I missed one, forgive me, but I don't think I did. All the states up there: New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine. I know I'm forgetting one, but I don't remember it. That's embarrassing. Oh well, I guess I'm just going to blame my Illinois public school education. But look, the story remains: not one Republican representative out of that, and you know that there's at least 40% on aggregate. There should be at least one Republican seat out there, and some of the states are drawn clearly to disenfranchise the Republicans that live there. There's one or two districts that you could generally say look somewhat fair. So as we continue to monitor this, I don't believe Florida has redrawn its districts yet. I think they're kind of waiting to see what the Democrats try to do in other states. But let's be very clear about this, ladies and gentlemen. And I know I'm in the minority on this. But I don't care. I don't like breaking tradition. I know the Democrats do it, and we have to fight fire with fire, and people go out and say that. But it just the future. The future is going to be wild because every time a state switches, you're going to see the congressional districts redrawn just that much quicker. You know, you're going to just see it go that much quicker. And you're going to see, you are going to see people who have been Republicans who have been in office for a long time and Democrats who have been in office for a long time. They're going to lose their spots. And don't forget this: when we changed the Senate to have our senators directly elected and taking that right away from the governors and the state houses and the state senates, you are going to get a much polarized country so quickly. I mean, and then that's literally the only thing saving the country at that point is the filibuster, which will eventually be taken away. And again, I know people want to get rid of the filibuster so that we can get our nominees through, so we can get our judges through, so we can get our bills through. But the way to fix that is not getting rid of the filibuster. The way to fix that is getting back to what the Constitution was that was given to us. Brother Dog, man, chat. I didn't even realize I had these many. I need to pay more attention to chat. Dogfish is coming in with a couple points on the AI. He says AI requires way too much electricity. Quantum will create its own and will incorporate AI into itself. Quantum stocks will make your financial portfolios boom just like previous technologies did in their infancy. You know, there are people who've been around who have watched portfolios boom as technology improved, whether that be the steam engine, the diesel engine, computers, electronics, now AI. And he just says, imagine if you would have invested 10,000 into Amazon back in the day, Facebook, AOL, and others. This will be the same. Not giving any financial advice. We don't do that here on this show. We're just pointing out the facts. We need like a silver and gold update. Maybe we'll get that. Text coming in. I support the redistricting. People are reporting that they are supporting the redistricting. I'm shocked because this one person who's saying they support it actually got through without cursing. I support redistricting. It's about time that we level the playing field. Just like your post on X shows. Oh, you did kind of sneak something in there. Just as your support on X show, dude, you're funny. Just as your post on X shows, you can take back this country. So, and it's going to happen. Texas has done it. Indiana's done it. I think Ohio's going to do it. Florida's still got to do it. I think North Carolina potentially might do it, or maybe it's South Carolina. It's still going to be razor close. It's going to be close. But if you look at the map for what's going to happen in the United States Senate moving forward, the Republicans should actually gain a few seats. That is, unless the Dominion voting machines go ahead and steal it. I mean, there was the potential. If we would have got those other 3 Senate seats that we lost, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona in 2024, we could be potentially sitting at 59 Senate seats in Republican control, which would mean you would only need one Democrat to break. And it's a lot harder to put the screws to a single Democrat than it is, 5 or 6. Good old Dogfish coming in. Silver, 58.20 an ounce. Gold, 4,196 an ounce. Not only that, Brother Rick is chiming in too. You guys are just fantastic. We do have an awesome audience here. And I know that we don't always agree on everything, but that's what's making this one of the fastest growing radio shows here in Mississippi. We're getting involved with our local races. We're giving platforms to any elected official that wants to come on. Absolutely, we'll do it. And everybody knows I'm a straight shooter. I do not believe in gotcha politics. Not in the slightest. Gotcha politics, it will get you a momentary high and give you a little bit of momentary power. But once everybody figures it out, you are now persona non grata, and no one's going to give you the time of day. And we don't want that here. That's why we'll call it like we see it. Last thing on these redistricting, redrawing of maps. And mark my words on this, because I'm just trying to quickly how to phrase this? Do not be surprised when the party switches power, if they do not redraw right away. They get into power and they last in power and they know they're gonna be in for at least 4 years. They might wait 2 years for that next cycle because they know if they changed and redrew the maps in this cycle, they weren't gonna win. They'd pick some up, it would be closer, but it wouldn't win. But if they know if they wait and it allows everything to get screwed up even more, they'll wait. Do not discount the left. They have some tacticians over there. They got some generals. They've got some intel folks over there. They understand the game. And I'm not saying that that the Republicans don't have that. They do. But it just seems like the Democrats listen to their side a little bit more. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9. We are going to take our last break. The first hour is already in the can, almost. It goes by so quick. We'll be right back. Mm. This is kind of sad. This is coming from the USS Arizona. I won't say there will never be a USS Arizona, but there won't be a USS Arizona for at least another 50 years. The USS Arizona was a battleship that was, of course, ambushed and destroyed by the Japanese, kicked off World War II in the Pacific for the United States of America. And this is coming from the USS Arizona official X account. Sadly, this is the first year at the commemoration ceremony at Pearl Harbor that no Pearl Harbor survivor has attended. We've lost so many over the past few years, and as few as 12 remain living today. From one generation to the next, remember Pearl Harbor. Remember those lost. Remember those who survived. Those who forget their history are doomed to repeat it. I never want to experience a Pearl Harbor. Perhaps 9/11 might have been something close to it. But the truth is we get soft, and it's the cycle that repeats itself over and over again. And as a Navy guy, I want to do that. Let's try to take this call real quick. Hey, we got about a minute. Go ahead.
Hey, it's me again, but I want to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
How many is Pearl Harbor in a newspaper, and then TV stations don't even hardly talk about it no more?
Yep. It's because we forget our history, brother.
That's right. That's right. I was just saying that. I just thought about something, but you don't ever see it. Nobody talks. None of the stations. Good Morning America. All of them don't. They don't want to talk about it. So hey, that's another case I got with you, brother. Have a good day.
Yep. Have a blessed one. He's right. He's absolutely right. Our newspapers don't talk about it. And maybe I need to do a better job about talking about it. I'm not saying I'm an enormous, influential media figure, but I am part of the media now. I should take advantage of that. The truth of the matter is, so many of us are now part of the media, and we have the opportunity to go out there and make sure that things aren't forgotten. How tough would it be to set a reminder in your phone? So, full disclosure, my anniversary, I have 5 reminders set in my phone that go off starting about 2 months before, so I know I'm not going to forget. What if we started doing that with important U.S. military historical dates? We probably should. We are approaching a very critical time in our history. Things are only speeding up, and we will be here at the Andrew Gosser Show to chronicle as much as humanly possible. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And welcome back to hour number 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show. It is the 8th of December, 2025. That means it is Monday. And we are streaming on Rumble. And we are streaming on X. And we are streaming on YouTube. And we are streaming at WYAB.com. Please, we appreciate everybody who picks us up on the radio signal. But if for some reason you can't get it, like my crew in Minnesota who's listening, my crew in Illinois who's listening, I appreciate you tuning in onto the stream. I do. I also appreciate it if you give me a follow on X. It's really simple. It's just at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. Nice and easy. Look, if you want to be part of the program today, that line is open, 601-879-0002. The text line is open, 601-879-5060. The mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. And no, I'm not taking off my hat. It is chilly, and I am nice and toasty warm. You know, I love quoting scripture at the beginning, but you know, there are just some things that deserve the top of the hour quote. A lie doesn't become truth. Wrong doesn't become right. And evil doesn't become good just because it's accepted by a majority. Who said that, ladies and gentlemen? Booker T. Washington. And that's just where we're going to leave that, because no truer words have ever been spoken. We can talk about how we need more liberalism, how we need more wokeism. And it's okay because everybody's agreeing with it. Nope. Sometimes you've got to be that fish swimming against the stream. You got to be going against the current. And it doesn't happen that often, but people see it. And when they see it, they know it. And that's kind of like what's going on with Gen Z right now. They're the most spiritual generation since before the boomers. And so many of them, and these are even kids who go to private Christian schools. They can't necessarily completely articulate it, but they see it, they feel it, they know it. They understand it. And they know that all of this craziness that's being pushed by the left, that's being pushed by the wokesters, they know it's wrong, but they're not getting the support and help that they need from their grandparents, their parents, and their support structures, the schools. They're learning to keep their heads down and not speak out. And sadly, we do need people to speak out. But when you see the people who are speaking out are these crazy wokesters, they're just like, I'm not being a part of it. I'm not going to go down that. But speaking of good stuff that happened, and I'm reaching back into last week for some stories because I didn't get a chance to talk about them, but I thought it was important. And this one dropped on a Friday in the afternoon, but it is something that we need to talk about it. So let's go in 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Joan. Supreme Court just this minute, Brianna, announced it's going to take up challenge to President Trump's order lifting birthright citizenship. You might remember on January 20th, his first day in office, he took his Sharpie pen and he said, this is a big one. And what he did was he tried to eliminate the automatic birthright citizenship that all Americans have had for more than a century. And what that does, it goes to the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. That means that anyone who's born here, Brianna, automatically becomes a U.S. citizen. And what Donald Trump's executive order tried to do was say anyone who was born of someone who was not here lawfully or who was here on some sort of temporary status, that person's baby would not automatically be a citizen. It's a very, it's probably of all the Trump actions that have been taken to date.
Joan.
And now comes the truth about the 14th Amendment. And of course, if you go and you use Google to try to text it, does it give you the text of the 14th Amendment? No. Does it give you a bunch of BS and try to steer you away from the 14th Amendment? You've got the Constitution Center. You got government.org. I'm even searching for 14th Amendment text. And I've got to scroll down 3 places to get that. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Notice that she didn't say that. Are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. So let's go back and listen to this one more time, because, you know, that caller in the last hour was talking about how the media lies and tries to manipulate. Let's try to do this. We're going.
Joan.
Supreme Court just this minute, Brianna, announced it's going to take up challenge to President Trump's order lifting birthright citizenship. You might remember on January 20th, his first day in office, he took his Sharpie pen and he said, this is a big one. And what he did was he tried to eliminate the automatic birthright citizenship that all Americans have had for more than a century. And what that does, it goes to the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. That means that anyone who's born here, Brianna, automatically becomes a U.S. citizen. And what Donald Trump's executive order tried to do was say anyone who was born of someone who was not here lawfully or who was here on some sort of temporary status, that person's baby would not automatically be a citizen. It's a very, it's probably of all the Trump actions that have been taken to date.
Joan.
And you're sitting there watching these 2 women go absolutely beside themselves. And leave it to Dogfish. Dogfish, if one of your pregnant sheep comes onto my property and gives birth, is that baby sheep mine? Brother Dogfish, truer words have not been spoken. I have the best neighbors in the world. And I'm going to give shout out to the Hills. And I don't know if they listen to the show or not, but this year in the spring, there was a spot in my fence that broke. And you know what happened? My entire herd of sheep, 56 sheep, plus a livestock guardian dog, went onto their property and just went to town for a day. When by the time I got there, there were no longer 56 sheep and a livestock guardian dog on their property. There were 57 sheep. Literally, one of my sheep gave birth on my neighbor's farm. It was great. We took out pictures out there. Kids helped me get it all back. We fixed the fence. That sheep wasn't Greg's. I offered, and you want to talk about good neighbors? Didn't get upset. Just fixed the fence. We did. We got everything good to go. Thanks to everybody at my church who helped me do that, because I was in a bad way at that time. I could barely get out there and fixed it. But you bring that up, and it's absolutely true. What the 14th Amendment did, and what that under the jurisdiction thereof, specifically talking about the slaves who came here and didn't want to be here. They were protected. That's what that protection is for. It's not for people who come here illegally. And there is 2 schools of thought on this. You have the liberal persuasion, which is make everybody feel good and what feels good in my heart. And then you have what the Constitution means and why that amendment was given. It was to protect the slaves. And by the way, thank God for the 130,000 white dudes and 29,000 black dudes who gave their lives to free the slaves. Slavery had been in practice for thousands of years. And quite frankly, it took a bunch of white dudes to end it. Now, that's not to say that we still don't have problems. I know we do. But if we look at how far we've come a long way. Do we still have more to do? Absolutely. But as long as this wokeism stuff is out there, we need to combat it. We need to go after it, and we need to call it out every place we can at every time we can. And when I read the ratings about CNN and how poor it is, this is why. You've got these two chicks over here just whining and bemoaning, trying to get everybody fired up. But if we actually studied the Constitution, I almost feel like in our schools, we should have like government class starting at kindergarten, where we're going through government all the time and explaining why certain things are done. So that way, by the time they get to middle school, they have an idea of what's going on and they can already start to look at issues and make determinations. Does that mean that everybody's going to end up turning out to be conservative? No. Does it mean everybody's going to turn out to be a liberal? No. But we have a more educated voter electorate out there that understands what is happening inside our country and why, and then they can use their value systems and make their own determinations. We have to get back to that point. I just don't want to be having people's opinions being reported as news and going in there and then having them manipulate the public. Because don't get me wrong, the only reason that CNN is doing half as good as it is right now is because they're shown in earthquakes, in airports all across America, and there's nowhere to flee. There's nowhere to hide from CNN when you're in an airport. The best thing that we can do is we can go ahead and put in our earbuds, go ahead and pull up our favorite podcast, rerun of the Andrew Gosser Show, and pay that no mind. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on Mississippi's 50,000 watt blowtorch, WYAB. We will be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We are moving and grooving. And I'm getting all sorts of stuff. And one of these, we talked about this last week, and this is the McCarran-Walter Act, I believe. It was a bill that was introduced in the 50s, and I just want to make sure that we remember this because I remember it as something else. But here we go. And maybe not. We will try this one more time. If it doesn't work, that's what I get for trusted in Meta. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You know what needs to happen? We need to reinstate the McCarran-Walter Act. America First means Americans in charge. November 18th, 1990, the 101st Congress quietly repealed the McCarran-Walter Act of 1952, forbidding Muslims from holding office. Members of that Congress were Dick Cheney, John McCain, Joe Biden, Al Gore, John Kerry, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi. The McCarran-Walter Act of 1952 was a landmark piece of legislation designed to protect the national security and interests of the United States. It gave our government the power to exclude and deport immigrants deemed subversive or a threat to our way of life. What's funny is for decades, it stood tall, ensuring that those who came to our shores, and especially those who sought to hold power within our government, were loyal to this nation and this nation alone. Its repeal was a grave mistake, and we're living with the consequences today. We see a government riddled with officials who hold dual citizenship, whose primary allegiance is often questionable, and who push policies that benefit foreign nations at the direct expense of the American people. This is not diversity, it's infiltration, okay? It is a slow motion invasion of our own halls of power, where decisions about our economy, our borders, our wars are made by individuals with deep-seated foreign ties. Our founding fathers, all right, they understood that a nation cannot survive if it's governed by those who owe their allegiance to another flag. We have forgotten that. Lesson to our Perot, all right? Reinstating the McCarran-Walter Act would be a powerful first step in reclaiming our sovereignty and putting the American people back in control of their own destiny. It's time to kick foreign influence out of our government and restore America to its rightful place as a nation governed by and for its own citizens. Do you guys agree with everything?
This is coming from a guy named Colton Wilson, also known as Conservative Willie, on dare I say the platform that I never bring up, Meta Facebook. But he's definitely worth the follow, and he's right. If you just forget about what's happening in Minnesota with all the $8 billion in aid that should be going to our inner city communities and going there. But look what's happening in Dearborn and in Maine and in Charlotte, North Carolina. These people are not having the best interests of the United States in mind, but Somalia. And people are out there, they're seeing it. They're feeling it. And, they want to go ahead and take as much of our resources as they possibly can and ship it back to Africa and Somalia. And then when we finally get wise and start kicking them out, they're going to make it painful. But this is what happens when we just kick back and vote Republican, better off red than dead, blue no matter who. No. And the list of people who voted to repeal that act is a who's who of who turned the government into their own personal piggy bank and power base. They used everything that they could, whether they were business people, whether they were honorably retired military people, prisoners of war in Vietnam. They used their station inside the country of the United States of America to secretly promote themselves and make themselves the main character of the story and not the red, white, and blue. It's Chuck Schumer. He's still in there. Mitch McConnell. Does anybody honestly believe that Mitch McConnell can actually make his own decisions right now? Why isn't it that the Republican Party, Senator Wicker, Senator Hyde Smith, here's looking at you. Why are you allowing the Republican Party to be Biden? You know, one of the hardest things that when I'm sitting there talking to politics to liberals, they say that Republicans are no better. And they bring up something like Mitch McConnell. And I've got to concede that point. We are more concerned. Oh, Andy, you just don't understand how politics works. We got to keep our power. We got to make. How many of you are honestly satisfied with the United States Senate or the United States House right now, on either side of the party or the body, liberal or conservative? There are so many people who are so angry because our people get there, even the good ones, and all of a sudden you just see them slowly start to change. Or sometimes it's not so slow. They've got it so bad, they know they make 1 or 2 deals and their family is set in perpetuity. We don't want that. And until we start going after things like that, we're never gonna fix our nation. This is coming from Based Mike Lee. I don't think this is Senator Mike Lee's official account. I think it's a parody account, but it's true. A Democrat Guide to Identification. You need an identification to open up a bank account. Makes sense. We want to make sure we're taxing you. We want to make sure that you're paying all your fair share. You're not embezzling money. It makes sense. Open up a bank account, prove your ID, prove who you are. Airport. You need the quote unquote real ID now, where they can digitally track you. If you go to the doctor's office, you need an ID. If you go to pharmacy, you need an ID. You go to the school, you got to show an ID to prove that your student is who they say they are. Birth certificate, social security card. Gun store, oh yeah, you're going to need an ID. Fishing license, you're going to need an ID. Hunting license, you're going to need an ID. Dropping your kids off at the daycare, they're going to want your ID. They're going to want to know that you are the parent of that child you are dropping off. Drinking, you're going to need an ID. You go to the marijuana store, you are going to need an ID. Go to the voting booth. In so many states across this nation, you do not need an ID. I think there's a genuine case to be made that states like Illinois and California are violating the civil rights of all the other states. Minnesota too. All of these blue states that don't have voter ID law, terrible. Absolutely terrible. And it just gets deeper and deeper the more we go. I'm going to take a quick break because when we get back, we've got somebody who's speaking about it, but I don't want to cut him off. I want to give him his fair share. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. I will be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. You know, it's getting close to Christmas time, and it might be time for you to either A, hook yourself up, or B, hook up your significant other with a new pair of glasses. And there's no better place to do that than at Eye Gear Optical. They're here locally in Pearl, Mississippi, right there at 2630 Highway 80 in Pearl. Brother Bruce Bennett is the owner and operator. He's been there for quite some time. Don't go to the big box store. Take your prescription, go down and see my man Bruce. He will take care of you. That's Eye Gear Optical. You can find him online at eyegearoptical.com. Bruce, we appreciate you sponsoring the show. We're going to get back into this. Now, I promised I was going to play a clip from somebody who's been fighting some really hard issues inside the state of Mississippi, and quite frankly, I don't feel that he gets enough credit for it. I know that there is the political class who really doesn't like him, but I find that when I listen to him, I'm agreeing with him more than I'm against him. Let's hear what Brother Shad has to say today.
Secret, I'm seriously thinking about running for governor of Mississippi, and part of the reason is I get frustrated seeing all of this waste in state government. I get frustrated seeing some of our politicians who seem to only operate in a way that benefits powerful people, and they don't think about what normal people's lives are like. They're not willing to challenge powerful people if they're doing things that waste taxpayer money, and so somebody's going to have to step up and put a stop to that.
Do you see yourself as being a Trump candidate, so to speak, especially in light of the economy? Some people have questions about that. Some people say, hey, we're coming out of this government shutdown. Of course, issues with SNAP benefits being put on hold. How do you look at all that?
I'm a huge supporter of President Trump. I think he's doing an incredible job. I think our economy is going to steadily improve over the course of the next 2 years. I support his priorities of cracking down on illegal immigration and cutting down on government waste. And I would take those same kinds of ideas and apply them to the state level here in Mississippi.
All right, Shad White, glad to have you here in Memphis, Tennessee.
Secret.
And that was Brother Shad somewhere in Memphis on some TV station. I don't know. I'm getting it from his account. That just came across my feed. And I was like, you know, I do agree with a lot of that. It gets back to people who've been in government for a long time. It's not to say that I don't want to sit there and just say because someone's been in office for 20 years, if they've done county supervisor for a little bit, school board member, maybe they were a state rep, and kind of working its way up the chain. I get that. It's the squatters that bother me. The squatters are going to be causing big, big problems. And, you know, what was really kind of caged my mind to all this was meeting Steve and Jennifer. They come from out of state. They are so conservative. They've got ideas to improve parental rights here in Mississippi. I think we need that. We have so many good people here who could really push the ball down the court. They could matriculate the ball down the field if you're a football guy. But will they ever actually do that? I don't blame anybody who says, I don't want to run for office. I don't want to put my family through that garbage. Look, I get it. I absolutely get it. But if we don't start putting good people into local office, it's just going to get worse. And now, this is a clip coming from Fox News. And I'm just going to tell you, I was never a fan of this dude. Never once. But this dude has been spitting facts ever since he got out of the presidential race. And listen to what he says here, Republicans. Listen very closely.
Couple things. One, in an off-year midterm, the party in power's voters tend to be more complacent. Party out of power, they get upset, right? That's just the nature of midterms. We saw it when Obama was in and Republicans. So that dynamic is always going to be there. Then I think Republicans have an issue that Donald Trump has created a big pool of voters, but some of them are unique to him, right? So they will go vote for Trump, and they'll vote for all the Republicans when Trump's on the ballot. But if he's not on the ballot, some of them don't vote. Now, you can overcome that. We did it in Florida in 2022. You know, we had a state that was a purple state, 1-point state. We won by 1.5 million votes, 20 points, the biggest Republican victory ever. But we did that based on results and substance. We did it by flying under a banner of bold colors, not pale pastels. We were sticking it to the left every single day and delivering big victories. So it can be done. But I think it's like you can't go on 2024 and say, oh, well, we Republicans won this district by 10 points, so therefore we're going to win it, because President Trump was the reason you won it by 10 points.
What do you say? What is the message? Because the inflation is still high. So far, groceries are a little bit up, even though they're up only 2%, inflation goes down. What would, if I said right now, give a speech to voters who are on the fence about who they should vote for, what should be the bullet points?
I think it's...
and it cuts off right there. But he did talk about trying to lower inflation. But I want to talk about more of what he talked about when he was saying stick it to the Democrats. But it's not in the federal election. I mean, the odds are, and if anybody wants to bet against the fact that Trent Kelly, Michael Guest, and Mike Easel and Benny Thompson will all be our congressional representatives in the upcoming Congress. And I'm willing to say that Roger Wicker and Cindy Hyde-Smith will be our senatorial or our senators representing us in the U.S. Senate. Anybody want to bet against that? I'm sure you could get an outstanding bet on it. But the truth of the matter is, it's just not going to happen. But if we look at our local elections, we can see that newcomers can come in and they can compete and they can win. I was talking with a friend of mine who is a lot closer to a lot of state reps and state senators than I am. But he was talking about it, and I always know when something's up because they call me. So it's clear to me that Jackson, people are listening. People are starting to see that there are ways for us, the citizens, can have real impact here. We're seeing it, whether it's coming out through Shad White, whether it's something that Andy Gibson's talking about. You know what? Listen carefully to what Delbert Hosemann says. I'm not saying that I'm going to vote for him, but I'm just saying listen to what he's saying. Listen to how these politicians turn the color of their skin. They're like chameleons as election draws closer. Who are the ones who are the chameleons, and who are the ones that are staying pretty much true and solid? I know I take a lot of garbage because I say go meet your state rep, go meet your state senator. But you should, especially if you are in a state rep or a state senate seat where you consider yourself a conservative and they consider themselves a conservative. Likewise, tell my Democrat friends inside Jackson, do you know your state rep? I'm just asking if you ever reached out to them, because, they all count on us to get out there and vote for them on election day. What are they doing for the next 4 years after they win that race? I just see all sorts of problems coming down the pipe. I see also the chance for incredible change, not just around the United States, but places like Mississippi. Florida's already had that shift. How do we get that shift here. I mean, we are so conservative. We should be leading the way in the United States. We should have an anti-Sharia law already passed. We should be continuing to look for ways to bring in good business into Mississippi. We do not want these flash in the pan companies coming in here, coming in, using our workforce, our land, our resources, and then leaving in 5 years because they just got the check and left. I belong to a railroading group, and it is noted that not only do we have great rail inside Mississippi, but it's a great economic opportunity for companies to come into Mississippi to utilize those rail services. Man, there are companies out there that want to come to Mississippi, but maybe Mississippi doesn't necessarily open its doors the way it should. And I realize I'm an Illinois refugee, and there'll be many people who have been in Mississippi longer than I've been alive. They're like, we don't want that. Get out of here. I get it. I absolutely get it. When we get back, we are going to listen to some Somalis in Minnesota. And if you have heard nothing else today, you're going to want to hear this. This is the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
Neighborhood of Minneapolis. Do you feel more comfortable living under American law, or do you feel more comfortable living under Sharia law?
Sharia law. I'm a Muslim. I prefer Sharia law. Sharia law, yes.
You prefer Sharia law over American law?
Of course, yeah. Of course, yeah.
And do you find most of your friends feel the same way?
Yeah.
And we are back for the final segment of the Andrew Gosser Show today. And we're just going to roll the tape. I know we've had a lot of more clips and more of a commentary type of show, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. And this ought to scare the living hell out of everybody.
Neighborhood of Minneapolis. Do you feel more comfortable living under American law, or do you feel more comfortable living under Sharia law?
Sharia law. I'm a Muslim. I prefer Sharia law. Sharia law, yes.
You prefer Sharia law over American law?
Of course, yeah. Of course, yeah.
And do you find most of your friends feel the same way?
Yeah, of course. If you're Muslim, yeah.
He can make his daughter marry somebody.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can. He has the authority, you know?
The authority to that.
Yeah, to do that. Yeah.
So here, how young do you think it's okay?
Yeah, 15.
Is it right to kill somebody who insults Muhammad?
Yeah, because she is just, she hid the religion, I understand. But she shouldn't beat up the prophet, you know?
So you understand why people would want to attack her?
Yeah.
If you had a choice, would you rather live here or would you rather live in a Muslim country?
I'd rather live in a Muslim country with my people.
Would you prefer to live in America or prefer to live in Somalia?
For me, I think it's Somalia.
I would rather live in Somalia.
I'm not Americanized. I just speak fluent, and I'm, you know what I mean? I'm articulate, and I can articulate what I'm trying to say, you know what I mean? That's about it. But other than that, I mean, as far as my culture and my preferences and everything, it's still Somalia, you know what I mean?
Even though here you have all the freedom and stuff like that?
And even though I have all the freedom,
I think life might be better in Somalia than here.
Because now you have the freedom of it, of practicing your religion,
right,
while working and doing your other things.
Literally speechless. They're here in America and they vote. I genuinely do not, like, if I was going to make a commercial saying why we need to get rid of Sharia law and why we need to close our borders and why we need to ban Islam from being elected, here you go. That woman said it's okay to kill somebody who insults Muhammad. It's okay to kill them. But they can talk all the trash they want, not just on Christianity, but any other religion. Do you see it yet? And again, I'm not talking to those on the right or those who are brainwashed on the left, but those of you in the middle who are straddling the fence, not quite sure which way you fall. That's in America. That's in Minneapolis. And if you think that can't come right here to the great state of Mississippi, you're kidding yourself. You're kidding yourself. We will continue on the Andrew Gosser Show to promote this kind of stuff. And not that we support it or anything, but we want to make sure that people can see what's actually happening inside the United States. There are good people up in Minneapolis and in Minnesota who are trying to come out after this and do something about it. But they are going to need federal resources to go after this. They are going to need more than just federal resources. They're going to need a lot of people to point out where the federal folks need to go. We had a great show today. I am so grateful for everybody who called in, texted in, the calls during the break. Again, special shout out to my man, Phil Scoggins, County Supervisor Phil Scoggins. Thanks for the grace, and I appreciate that. We won't do that again. And when you're ready to come on the show, sir, you just let me know. Line's always open. You have been listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9. We'll see you in a little bit. Take care, everybody. Be blessed.